Do you ever wonder why some strikers get into a goal-scoring opportunities all the time while others can have games without? What about those strikers that don't score goals, but are still the best players on the field? Today, we're diving deep into the world of striker positioning and movement, one of the most crucial, yet often misunderstood, aspects of modern football. We will dig very deep into the attacking movement of the striker, finding the blind spots, timing the run, pausing the game, playing the offside trap, getting the headers. All of that, plus tips on how to press, defend, and counterattack. So much to cover, so let's get started. Some modern strikers are a weird thing these days. Players like Firmino and Jesus play as strikers, but consider scoring goals as secondary. However, they are valued because they do other things like creating space, assist, retain possession, press and recover the ball, and so on. We will get into that later, but firstly we will talk about the most important thing in the attacking phase of play, which is how to get the ball as a striker. Receiving the ball when we are breaking the lines is a big part of the striker's job, often called hold-up play. In order for this to be successful, you need to initiate that contact with the defender with your back against the goal, as if you were getting the ball to your feet. This ensures you are not in offside, but also makes sure that the player doesn't intercept the ball. If you are much stronger than your defender, it is easier. However, a less physical player can do well if they outsmart their opponent. What you end up doing often is leaving space where you will actually receive the ball. So, you will drop and see if you can attack with the first touch. You can flick the ball behind the opponent if they are close to you, or face with dribble, or even shoot right away. The next level of hold-up is dropping deeper to receive the ball and combine with the midfield. As we discussed in the video Breaking the Lines, this famous false 9 role confuses the defenders. If they don't follow the striker, then their midfield is outnumbered and it struggles. However, if they follow the striker, then there is space behind that they leave empty for winger or attacking midfielder to run into. Now, running behind the opponents is fine, but it comes with the risk of offsides. We went really deep into the offside traps in another video linked here, but let's talk about how to actually time the run as a striker. You need to understand that the best runs are moving both vertically and horizontally, but we will start by splitting them. Let's start with moving the player between the two goals. In the hold-up play, you went forward to push your defender up, then you dropped back to pick up the ball. Similarly, if you jog back to receive the ball and the defender follows you, then that's a signal for your teammate that you will make a sprint behind. That means that you have to be aware of the fact that the defender is on your back or not on your back. Now, let's see about moving sideways. If you divide the field in 5 zones, you can see that the wingers are on the far zones and the striker is in the center zone, with empty zones between them. We often call them half spaces and they cause problems for the defense because it's unclear who should defend them. As a striker, you want to move in and out of those zones with intention. That means that there will be change of pace, from jogging to sprint, as well as change in direction. For example, if your winger is getting the ball on the wings, you should attempt to get into that half space to receive it there. If you are already there, then you should receive it on the flank and swap places with the winger. If the winger doesn't give the ball to you and passes to the middle, then the midfielder should try to find you in the central zone, again moving from the half space to the central zone. This is not easy to execute, but it's even harder to defend. It's a nightmare for the defenders. Now, if you don't receive the ball, does it mean that the run was useless? Not at all. That is what creating space for your teammates mean. For example, if you made that run into the half space and dragged the defenders with you, then it opened the space for the winger with the ball to dribble or the other winger to cut in. This simple run is a huge benefit for those tricky wingers. Let's alter this hypothetical story of the winger receiving the ball and then deciding to dribble down the line. Instinctively, a player might move towards the ball to help, but world-class strikers should trust their wingers. The world-class strikers move away from the half space and back into the central area. Firstly, this leaves space for the winger to take their defender 1v1. Secondly, it creates space between the two attackers, so the central defender cannot commit to either of them. If the defender comes very close to the striker, then the winger has lots of space to dribble and the striker has the half space area to run into and receive the ball. Thirdly, it splits the attention and vision of that defender. Positioning yourself into the blind spots of the defender is constant work and high attention activity. Say our winger dribbled further and is ready to cross the ball from something that looks like short corner. Inexperienced striker will just run straight to the goal hoping that the ball comes in, then stand there, likely in offside. More experienced striker will try to time the run for the cross and will likely need to win a duel against the defender. World-class poachers position themselves into the blind spots of the defenders. They often look like they are mispositioned, but that is not the case. They have the technique to strike the ball from anywhere in the penalty area with one touch. The trick is to get the ball into a channel that is not guarded. If the defender is in the lane of passing directly toward the striker, but the striker can move to either side of them and receive the ball while the defender cannot see what they should defend. The further they go from the ball, the larger area they need to cover, so that is not good either. Let's look at one more thing about blind spots. Say we are having something of an open space with everybody running forward. All the players are running towards the goal and having their heads toward the ball. Inexperienced striker will sprint forward and potentially run into offside. Our more experienced striker will try to get on the first post with a through ball. The world-class striker will position themselves into the blind spot here and will know that the defender will keep checking their shoulder periodically. They will use this to find the right moment when to change the pace and the direction and execute a run forward. Here's another level of what they can do. They make that run, the defender panics and stops looking at the ball because they are sprinting back. The striker then lets them sprint, changes direction, and receives the ball all alone. We are not going to look too much into the offside trap, as there is a deep dive video of it. But in the context of the blind spot, can you see how annoying a striker can be when drifting in and out of offside? The striker runs behind and the defenders think it's safe with the offside trap. Then the striker comes onside again and maybe this time one of the defenders tracks, while the other defender doesn't. Or maybe the defender doesn't even see them because they are focused on the ball and forgot to turn. This consistent dance can drive the defense crazy and force an error. The last item to talk about the striker positioning is the importance of first touch. While this is technically not off-the-ball movement, all the preparation to get a good first touch happens in the head before the ball touches the foot. Namely, the position of the player, the body position, and the positional awareness are all going to determine the quality of the first touch. A world-class striker in this situation knows the positions and the dynamics of the defenders and the teammates, then they know what to do if they get the ball and usually have a few different options in their head based on what the opponents and the teammates will do in those moments while they receive the ball. Modern strikers are the first defenders and ideally as high up the field as possible. Pressing isn't just about effort, it's about angles and triggers. A decent striker reads cues like a bad touch, a slow pass to a fullback, or a back pass under pressure. These are the moments to press aggressively. While mistakes like these happen at the highest level, it is rarely just random. It is a constant effort in coordination with your wingers and midfielders to force the opposition to make small error after error, which will put them into a situation where they can make a big error if they are properly challenged. Firstly, instead of sprinting straight at a defender, press diagonally, forcing them toward the touchline or into a trap. Your body shape should block the pass into midfield and push the ball into a less dangerous area. Players like Roberto Firmino and Antoine Griezmann are great at this, pressing with intelligence, not just intensity. By cutting a passing lane, you signal to your team on where you want to redefine the playing area, and they need to help you by blocking the outlets out of that area. Generally, you need to have an understanding with your team if you are more worried about passing to the pivot because your winger will sprint towards the defender. Or you care about the defender and let your midfielders press their midfield. Then you keep limiting the space until you finally challenge for the ball. It will not always work out. but you only need one success and it's a shot on goal. In the counter-pressing after losing the ball or missing a chance, the strikers often feel tired at this point because it is up to them to score. So it feels like the right time to take a break. However, the first 6 seconds after losing the possession are the easiest to gain it back. So press directly and be aggressive at that point. If successful, you will get a goal-scoring opportunity right away. If unsuccessful, you will get some time to rest because the opponents have the ball. One more thing about counterpressing. The most important thing is not even getting the ball. In fact, the scariest thing is to allow the opponents to have a counterattack. The most value you give your team is to make sure that the first pass after the opponents get the ball is backwards, not forward. If you can do that, then you have given your team time to regroup and position themselves for success. Even when you are not pressing high to the ball, you need to do your work as a striker and limit the easy pass to safety. Sometimes that is the holding midfielder and other times it's the center back. You are not chasing the ball, you're shaping the opponent's build-up and possession safety. You have to stay connected to your midfield line. You cannot drop too deep to help your defense because that will invite too much pressure and no outlet. Similarly, if you stay isolated high up, then you are not really doing your job. You have to pin it 2 players back, but if the 3 of you feel like you are on a different island, that means that somebody is not doing their job. Finally, you don't want to defend for only defending, but because you want to attack again. This is key. Your starting position in the block determines how effective your team will be on the counter. Strikers should stay alert, slightly off the shoulder of the deepest center back, ready to break forward when possession is regained. The counter starts before you win the ball. Stay close enough to help in defense, but far enough to explode into space. Always expect that your team will get the ball within a second or two, then think how you position yourself to get into a counterattack. One great trick is to position yourself to exploit the space behind on the side where the opponents are attacking. Not only you are helping your defense by being on that side, but also you know that their fullbacks are likely pushing forward and you are left only with the center back. Here are a few patterns of play you must learn. Firstly, dance around the offside line. If all opponents are on your half, then the half line is the offside line. Even if the ball is inaccurate, you have all the space to fix it and take a shot on goal. Also, you have to make that run no matter the ball. At worst you will put pressure on the goalkeeper to kick the ball out instead of just collecting it. Secondly, you decide the pattern of play with the wingers. We covered the patterns earlier, but briefly, if the winger receives the ball short, you run into the channel to receive the ball and the winger cuts in. Thirdly, if the winger receives the ball into space, you drift away and forward to stretch the defense and get into the blind spot. Finally, if you need to come to get the ball deep, then you drag your defenders up and you expect both of your wingers to sprint forward. If your defenders don't come with you, turn and carry the ball. And there you have it, a full breakdown of striker positioning and movement across all phases of play. We didn't get into the technical aspects, which you have to practice yourself, but we explained how to be tactically smarter and succeed positionally. Whether you're a player looking to improve or a coach analyzing top talent, understanding these details can make all the difference.